If you're out there selling books, CDs, or DVDs on Amazon and you don't actually know your exact profit after fees, you could be working a lot harder than you need to. In today's YouTube video, you're getting a behind-the-scenes look at a coaching call from inside of our Reselling Freedom community, where we break down the real numbers behind selling at $10, $20, and $30 price points when selling books, DVDs, and other media items. And why pricing at $9.99, believe it or not, could sometimes leave you with more profit than selling at $10 or even $11. In another minute, I'm gonna introduce you to Mike, the used book guy, and he's leading a training that I'm gonna be sharing with you today. Mike's gonna walk you through how Amazon fees really work, how to use the FBA revenue calculator to understand your margins, and why a few simple pricing tweaks can make a big difference. In today's video, you'll learn how bulk buying can turn small investments into big returns, when to take advantage of Amazon's small and light program, and the hidden storage and removal fees that can quietly drain your profits if you're not paying attention. And if you enjoy this type of training, this is just a small taste of what's inside Reselling Freedom. We have over 500 hours of past coaching calls, multiple live Zoom coaching calls every week, 10 plus expert coaches, including Mike, and a private community of Amazon sellers who've been exactly where you are now. So if you're ready to rock and roll, let's dive into today's coaching call, and hopefully I'll see you inside of the Reselling Freedom community as well. Mike, take it away.
All right, so today I thought it would be good to take a look at the profitability of a book, a CD, a DVD, when you sell it at different price points. So I already pulled 3 ASINs. I'm going to put these, well, you'll be able to see them on the replay if you wanted to follow along. So how can you actually tell the profitability of an item when you sell it on Amazon? You can go to the revenue calculator. You can just search up top, put in FBA revenue calculator. It will get you to this page where you can plug in any ASIN or SKU that you have, and it'll actually show you the profitability when we select one. So today's basically purpose of this is to see exactly how much you're making when you sell a book at $10, when you sell a book at $20, when you sell a book at $30. What does the split kind of look like? How much are you making versus how much is Amazon making? And just so you can kind of see how, as your average sales price goes up, you will be taking more of the money than Amazon will. So we're going to go through and kind of just knock these out and see what the profit actually is. So we're going to start with the book that we have here. And like I said, these are actual items that I have sold recently. So if you wanted to follow along, you can easily just plug in the ASIN and come along for the ride. So this book, it's about an average size book, right? 9 by 6 by almost 1 inch, 0.75 pounds. Maybe it's a little bit lighter than your average book, but I think this is a good example of a book because most of our books are either small, kind of small. We really don't send in that many huge, heavy books. So this is a good example. Now we want to change this price to $10 to see what our profit actually is. And as you scroll down here, it breaks down all the fees for every single fee Amazon hits you with, right? You don't really think about all the fees, all the little ways they kind of nickel and dime you. So your Amazon fees are $3.30. It's got your referral fee, your closing fee, which goes up and down, your fulfillment cost as well, $3.53. And then if we go down and take a look, it has your storage cost, but this really doesn't take into consideration if it's been sitting there forever, how long it's been sitting there. But it does take a few cents off, which I'm fine with. Your inbounding costs, this also is on the lower end. I like to think of it inbound cost as really closer to 70 cents. So for me, when I'm scanning and you have Scout IQ or Scoutly, I basically have it's set up so my buy cost is 22 cents, which is the inventory placement fees. And then my actual inbound shipping to Amazon is 50 cents. So if you look at it from that perspective with the placement fees and your inbound shipping, it's actually closer to like 75 cents. So this inbound cost of 30 cents it's under averaged almost by 100%, over 100%. So go down here, we take a look here. So at $10, this book we sold for $10. You are going to make $2.85. So remember, probably another 40 cents in shipping that they don't account for. You also have to account for your buy cost. My average buy cost on the year is right around $1. So that'd be another $1.40 coming out of this, right? And if you wanted to, you actually can put in your cost of goods here, right? So you got $1. Save. That drops us down to $1.85. If we add on our other 40 cents for sending it into Amazon, let's just add $1.45 on this book that we sold at basically $10 even. Not a lot of money by any stretch of the imagination, but we do want to take note here that we make $1.45, right? So that's at the $10, $1.45. Now I want to look at if we sold it at $9.99, right? So why the difference of running these two? Well, Amazon has a program. It used to be considered small and light. So anything that was under a certain weight, under a certain price, Amazon would give you reduced fees on those items. And it still exists. And it's for anything that's priced $9.99 and under. So if we change this $10 and we sold this book instead for $9.99, we are going to scroll down and see, look now we actually make $2.21 instead of $1.45. So that is, what is that, 5.55? It's like 75 cents, more than 75 cents, an extra 80 cents in your pocket just by what you lowered your price of your item by 1 penny, and you actually made an extra 80 cents on the back end. So what can we do to kind of avoid selling an item at $10 instead of $9.99? Well, what I do personally in my repricer, I have it set up so that my minimum is $11. And then anything under that doesn't get repriced. So if I send an item in, right, I list it on GoToLister, I'm going through, I'm pricing the item, and it says, hey, this is going to be priced 10.99, right? Even at 10.99, you're probably still going to be better off putting it at 9.99. And I'm curious, since we're here, let's just raise the price of this book to 10.99 and see what the difference is. Because the small and light, usually anything between $10 and $11, you want to be down at 9.99. So even at 10.99, you only make 2.29. So you make an extra 8 cents, but the price of your items up 99 cents. So I would always say, well, let's price it down at 9.99. You're probably going to get the sale a lot quicker than trying to get to 10.99. So whenever I'm listing an item on GoToLister and it falls between $10 and $11, it's either going above $11 or it's going below $10. You don't want to be selling things between 10 and 11 because you're going to be losing out on fees basically every single time. So just that 1 penny difference, you give the customer a better price, you actually make an extra 80 cents on the back end. And sure, it might not seem like a lot, but when you're down here talking about dollars, right, cents, like it can add up over time. We're selling thousands of these a year, an extra 80 cents per unit. It's going to add up, I promise you. So whenever you're listing your items, you don't want to have anything ever priced between $10 and $11. You either want to be above $11 or you want to be at $9.99 or lower. Make sure your repricer isn't touching the items below $11 so that they don't wind up getting repriced into that dead zone of between $10 and $11. So that was at $10 and $9.99 for the book. Now I want to go down and kind of raise the price a little bit and kind of see what trouble we can get ourselves into as we go up in sales price. I can't say it enough. Average sales price is so significant in just selling on Amazon in general, because as you go up in price, you actually pay less in fees, which is kind of a good thing if you can find quality items. Now, I'm going to be straight up with you all, right? It's hard to find $20, $30 profit or even sales price books in thrift stores anymore. My best success lately has been library sales. But thrift stores and books are, it is tough to find quality books. A lot of the books I find that I'm getting in thrift stores are fast moving. I'm talking 75 plus E-score sales score items that I'm spending 50 cents a dollar for, and I'm going to make like $4 or $5. So I don't sell a lot of books over $20. I have been finding more library sales than I do thrift stores, but you'll see the difference and the impact it can have if you start selling higher priced items. But yet again, you can't, if we all could just find higher priced items to sell, we would, but that's not the case. When we're out thrifting, we got to kind of take what the stores give us. So let's raise this book up to 20 bucks. And this is why like Steve and Joji and all these other guys that are running these other businesses, they have a higher average sales price so they can pay more for their item, right? So at 20 bucks, you make 9.95. That still has our dollar cost of goods and the extra 40 cents. So it's almost a 50-50 split at $20. And I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? Like you got to sell something for 20 bucks just to get 50% of your money. But at the end of the day, they are storing, they are packing. You don't have to deal with any customers, anything like that. So for me, I'm perfectly fine, right? If I can sell a $20 book and make 9.95 every single time, I'm okay with that. Now, it used to be different. The fees 2023 were a lot less than they are now, right? Amazon already said they're not going to raise fees again on us this year, but you just got to take this with a grain of salt when it comes to what they're saying and what the promises are from the back end. But so now you know, $20 sales price on a book that, is roughly the normal size of any single book out there, 9 by 6 by 1, almost a pound. You got to sell that book at 20 bucks to basically take home $10, and Amazon takes $10 after your $1 buy cost and you're shipping it to Amazon. So another thing why I thought it'd be good to go over this is accounting for like the little fees, right? Like at the start of this call, I was talking about how you can, you know, put in the cost of shipping the item into Amazon into your actual scanning software, your scouting software. So when you do scan the book, and maybe it's one of those ones I was talking about, you're paying $1. It's a super fast seller. You're going to make $4. Well, at least you know that it's taken out the 70 cents for you shipping it into Amazon. So you should really get after your buy cost kind of close to what the app is actually telling you. Now, what a lot of people do is they use the default triggers, which you shouldn't do. The team, Reselling Freedom team's got all the triggers on the website as well. And they don't account for their shipping it into Amazon. They're storing it in Amazon, right? This is only charging us 2 cents for the storage fees. But if this book sat there for 12 months, this is probably closer to 25 cents. If it's a heavier book, then it's probably closer to $1 in storage fees. So we don't take all these things into consideration. And that's why a lot of people get frustrated when they first start out because they don't understand all the nickel and diamond that goes on. But I always tell everybody, you can account for all of this while you're actually out there scanning. So when you see a profitable item, you can say, okay, I'm probably going to make close to that amount of profit when it actually gets to Amazon and it actually sells. So 50-50 split at $20. Now we have to go all the way up to $30. Now this is where you want to be. In the perfect media business, your average sales price is above $20. And if you're at $30, you're going to see here that you're taking home more than 50%, right? You're taking home basically 62% of the sale. You're making 18.45 on that book. So as the price goes up, you easily see how much more money you can make. The problem is it's hard to find $30 average selling price books. Most books, even retail for well under $20. So trying to find a book that retails for over $30 and still has a resale value used for over $30 is no easy feat by any stretch of the imagination, but it is good to understand the numbers that kind of come behind everything. So we got our books covered here for the $10, $20, and $30 sales point profit. You can see the lower it is, the much less you make with the books. And the big difference between the 10 and 9.99 profit is something to definitely make sure that you're not pricing anything between $10 and $11 because a 1 cent decrease in price puts an extra 80 cents in your pocket every single time you sell an item at $9.99 instead of $10. So now we're going to get into the DVDs. So DVDs have been a bigger part of my business this year. And you're going to see why when we get into the numbers, because the fees are less, because Amazon based their fees off of the size and weight. of an item. So we're going to jump over here back to our revenue calculator. We're just going to search for another product. And these are all items I've sold probably within the past day. So Jennifer's Body, this is a DVD. So all DVDs are basically going to have the same dimensions on Amazon. So those fees will kind of stay the same. So we're going to start out with our $10 item price. You see the storage fees do come down because it is less to store a DVD. It's a lot cheaper to store a DVD than a book. It's probably like 10x cheaper. It only goes down to a cent here. You've seen the book was 2 cents, but it's probably like 10 cents in comparison to the 2 cents, not 10 cents, like 1/10 of a cent compared to the 2 cents for a book. Now we do want to put in your average buy cost, which mine's usually $1. Like we said, well, this here does have the 30 cents per placement, but it doesn't have the actual shipping per item. So like I said, you're going to need an extra 40 cents usually per item to get that shipped in. So at $10, you make $1.84. So you see you're making a little bit more than your book, right? At $10, you're making an extra 40 cents, 39 cents to be exact. So the benefit to this is you make more money, right? Costs less to store it. We haven't even really gotten into the removal fees when you get down here, when the cost to remove a book versus a DVD or CD. It's a lot cheaper to remove it because that also goes by the size and weight of an item. So the natural progression of my business has been I still scan every single book when I'm out in thrift stores. I don't neglect the books just because of the fees, right? But you find more profitable items at lower dollar ranges when it comes to DVDs and CDs. So $1.84. Now we're going to drop this to our magical $9.99 that we've been going on about this call. Still got our buy costs in there. And now you see we're at $2.60. So pretty big jump here as well. It's roughly the same split, right? This is 55 plus 20, 75, 76. And this is, what is that? 20, 16, 76. So it's 76 cents, same difference. 76 cents you make in addition if you lower your price from $10 to $9.99. So basically you put an extra 3/4 in your pocket just by pricing your item 1 penny cheaper. I don't know why they do it this way. I'm glad they do because it allows us to sell faster moving items. So if I have a bulk buy and I pick up 1,000 CDs, 1,000 DVDs. Now you can't do this with books just because of the way the fees are, right? I'm not going to send in heavy books to hopefully make $1.45 or $2, just because the removal fees are going to punish you on the back end. But with the DVDs, if I'm buying the DVDs for 10 cents, 15 cents a piece, and I scan it and I see, hey, you know, this DVD sells 75 times every 180 days. So it sells basically every other day. I'm perfectly fine with sending that in and pricing it at $9.99. And when you get the sale price at $9.99, you're still going to make $2.60, right? And that's factoring our buy cost of $1, right? So if we went over here and you're doing a bulk buy for DVDs or CDs, right? Our cost of goods isn't $1. I only personally pay basically 10 cents, regardless of what it is. I want to pay 10 cents. And look at that. If you pay 10 cents for a DVD and sell it at $9.99, you're still going to make $3.50. I can't say this enough because when we do buy things in bulk, we have to get rid of all the stuff. So you pick up a bulk lot. I want you to be looking at your phone while you're scanning. You scan the item, it shows reject, right? But you see, oh man, this Disney DVD, it's got, 75 plus e-score sales score. I still want you to send that item in. I want you to price it at $9.99, throw it in the box. So the idea behind this is the supply can't keep up with the demand. So even though, Joji and Steve are on the listing at $6, I'm still going to send it in at $9.99 because eventually their copy's going to sell. Their copies will probably sell before mine gets there. And you actually wind up getting the sale at $9.99 and you make an extra $3.50. You only pay 10 cents. So, I mean, that's crazy return on your margin. You're going to be able to send in more items. you put a little bit of cash flow back into your bank account, right? These are fast moving items. It adds up. You can't have a whole inventory based off of this, but I'll tell you right now, as you're growing your business, these type of sales, this type of capability to build your inventory and have dollars in your bank account is going to help you grow so much faster. So 350 if you're buying in bulk at 10 cents is what you can make at 9.99, which is pretty crazy to me. So now we're going to get into jumping it up here because we covered what it would be at 10. Now the $20 mark, which is this is where it starts to get good in disc media land, right? So you sell your DVD for 20 bucks. We still paid $1 for it, right? So we're back at the dollars and item we paid $1 for. Now you can see the difference here already compared to the books to the DVDs. We're making 10.34. We're actually making more than Amazon at the $20 mark with a DVD. So we're more profitable selling a DVD at $20 than we are a book. There's less storage fees. There's less removal fees. There's less return fees. All of that has to be taken into consideration, especially as you grow your business into thousands and thousands of units, or even if you're the small part-timer, you don't want to be nickel and dime to death because you only have 500 units, so you can't afford the hefty storage fees that come every month or the removal fees. So 10.34 we're making, which is pretty nice. I like to kind of be around the $18 mark with my disc media. I think that's a good spot to be in. But I mean, you make an extra, what is that? Basically 40 cents on a DVD versus a book when you sell it at $20. And let's do the $30 example here just to see how much more we actually make. So at $30, we're making $18.84. So yet again, we're making more than the book, right? And like we said, the book, it's about your average size book. If you Google it, it says the average book's like 1 pound. So this book might be a little bit underweight, but I still think it's a good enough example for this. So our margins go to 62.79%. So this is basically how all the other business models make their money. They can pay more for an item. They can pay $30, $40 for a DVD and sell it for $100 and still be profitable because the fees scale down, right? Like if you sold this up, our margin right now at 30 is only 62%, right? But what if this was a $100 DVD? Like what is our margin? We're at 62% at 30 bucks. Look at this. At $100, the margin is 78%. An extra, like, what's that, 15% margin you're going to make on the back end, which is crazy. So that's how the business models exist, the E to A to A to A. Because if you have a higher average selling price, it gives you more margin to go buy items at a higher price. So as you have a higher average sales price, you actually make a lot more money on the back end. That's why I always tell everybody, what's your average sales price, right? That's kind of gives you a little bit of insight into your business because the higher your average sales price, the more money you're making on every single sale, which means you're going to have a better bottom line, better cash flow than somebody that has the average sales price of $11, $12. And really the only people that have that low of an average selling price is usually big time bulk sellers because along with the $30 books, they're sending in a lot of the $9.99, right? If I did bulk DVDs and CDs only, maybe like Gaylords or something, like my average sales price would be down, but I'm selling a lot more units to kind of counteract that versus the other business models you see where, they're not selling thousands of units a month, but they sell 300 units and the average sales price is way higher. So that allows them to still make a nice chunk of change on the back end. So it's kind of cool to see how much it jumps up as you raise the price of the actual item you are selling. So we got the CD, or that was the DVD covered. Let's actually look at the CD that I have set up here as well. And the fees should basically be the same for the majority of CDs, unless you got one of the 2-disc special editions or something like that. This is basically just your average, size CD jewel case, 0.17 pounds, basically 6 by 5 by half an inch. We want to start this experiment out at our $10 mark as always. So on a CD, we're going to make sure we paid $1 for a CD. I usually my CDs are usually 50 cents, but we'll just do $1 for the sake of just knowing your average buy cost. That's the best way to do it. Trying to figure out every specific category average buy cost. Like there's really no foolproof way to do it. So I just kind of take my average buy cost across everything and just use that as a determining factor on like how profitable an item actually is. So at $10, we are looking at $1.85. I think that is a little bit more than our DVD, right? Yes, it is. So the CD weighs a little bit less than the DVD, clearly. So we make an extra penny. Yippee, 1 penny. It's not going to make or break us, but hey, you make a little bit more on the CDs than you do the DVDs. So now we need to check it out at $9.99. See what that gets us to. So at $9.99, $2.61, roughly the same as the DVD. So the DVD and CD category basically is carbon copies of each other. If you look at the trigger sets that we have, they're the same exact for DVDs and CDs, right? The sales ranks basically coincide with each other. I don't have any differences in my trigger sets when it's DVDs or CDs. It's the same exact one for both categories. The ranks kind of fall into the same percentages, so we don't have to do anything different. You see the profits are basically the same as well. And yet again, if this was a CD that you only got for 10 cents in a bulk buy, you put $3.50 in your pocket. So if you do a bulk buy of CDs, something fast moving, 75 plus E-score sales score, 100% you should be sending that in at the $9.99 mark, making sure your price, you don't touch it. And when it sells, you actually make $3.50. It adds up over time. It allows you to send more items in from your bulk pickups and allow you to cash flow a lot quicker, faster, and you'll have more in your bank account, I promise you. So let's jump this up to our $20. And I'm pretty sure these numbers are almost going to be close to copying each other when it comes to the DVDs and the CDs. So 1035 on the CD. Yep. And then at the $30 mark, I'm going to assume it's basically going to be a penny more as well. $18.85. We don't even have the CD thing down here. We do. It's just down on the next page. All right, so that kind of breaks down the profits. I also wanted to cover a little bit about like the storage and the removal fees, just so you can be aware of why my mindset has changed a little bit around books when it comes to sending in heavier items that are, cost a little bit more money. You got to be a little bit more picky when it comes to this. So if you ever wanted to see like what the removal fees are for different things, let's keep this one open so we can reference the sizes and the differences of the actual things. But go up here, FBA removal fees. Drag you guys over here. All right, get me to this page. All right, so this actually is the actual cost to remove items at different price points. 99% of our items are standard size, fall into the standard size. So we're not rarely dealing with large, bulky type items. But I think I've had one oversized book. It was like a huge atlas. But I've never come across really oversized books. Even the ones I put in the boxes now, I had an atlas yesterday that I had to put sideways in the box. It's still not considered oversized. But these are the actual removal fees per unit, right? So it's based off the weight. So our CD here is under half a pound. So we only pay $1 for it to have this removed. We always want to try to liquidate these things before we have it removed. But if worst case scenario comes, like you're going to have to pay $1 for to have this item removed. Remember, this is on top of it sitting there for the 12-month period before we actually remove our items. So we paid storage on all of the whole 12 months on that item. Then at the end of the rainbow, we have to actually have it removed. Now, if we look at, it goes up considerably here. We're just going to go look at another one of my orders and see if we can actually find, let's see, a book here that I've sold recently that might be a little bit bigger. Let's see. And these are all just recent sales that I had, not filtered in any way, shape, or form. I think that's a smaller one. Let's try this one. So we know the CDs are well under half a pound along with the DVDs. I'll do a DVD searches to make sure. Now that's another small book. A lot of my books are actually probably going to be on the side. I think this is maybe a heavier book. If I remember this one correctly. So the heavier, I think, paperback. There you go. So this is a little bit thicker of a paperback. We're looking at 1.72 pounds. Most books, honestly, are probably going to be above 1 pound. So if we go back and look here, right, like if I got to pay to get this book removed, it's $2.27. I have an inventory of a little bit over 5,000 units. So if I had to have like 100 books of this size removed, I'm looking at, an extra $250 basically to have those books removed. When you just take it for one, it don't seem like a lot, right? You're like, oh, 227. But it adds up because we also had to store that item for the 12 months before we had it removed. We had to pay to have it, we had to pay to buy it, we had to pay to ship it in, we had to pay to store it, and then it never sold. So we had to pay to have it removed. 227 versus our $1.04. It used to be a flat fee across the board. So this table used to not exist. I think in 2023 before they made all the changes. You could have any item removed for like 30 or 40 cents. So I actually, one year I had about close to 1,500 books, because I was mainly books back then, actually removed. And I think it cost me like $300. If I had to have 1,500 books removed at this rate, I'm spending over $3,000. So basically the cost to remove these items has 10x, especially in the book category. So I'm not saying steer clear of books. I just want you to be more conscious of the decisions when you're buying the books, right? You're not going to buy something that's $4 profit when the sales score, is under 10. We need something that's actually going to sell in the book category if we're going to send it in, because if not, we're going to get punished on the back end heavily. And anything that's above 2 pounds, right? Like you're paying $3 and then an extra dollar per pound above 3 pounds. Like it can add up very, very quick. So let's just take a look. I want to see what the DVD, I'm pretty sure the DVD is under half a pound as well, for the most part. Because DVDs really aren't going to change that much in weight. Yeah, I mean it's cheaper, it's less weight than the CD, honestly. So, any standard DVD or CD, if you have to get it removed at the end of the road, it's going to cost you $1. So worst case scenario, you're going to have to eat the, 30 cents for storing it for 12 months, right? So why am I saying 12 months? Because you have your automated removal settings, right? Cogwheel top right, fulfillment by Amazon. And then you want to go to your automated fulfillable settings. These are items that are available for sale. They just haven't sold for whatever reason. You always want to try to liquidate it first, because liquidations, they'll charge you 30 cents, but you'll get a little bit back for whatever they pay at liquidations. But if not, it has to be disposed of. So we have this set up for 12 months. I think that's the perfect time frame. Allow your items to sit there for a year, gives them one Christmas season to sell. If not, it needs to get out of our inventory because the fees are going to pile up very, very quickly. So this is how you can have that set up, and you can come in and edit this, and it'll have all your information in there, like your address and whatnot. But that's how you make sure that your items are actually going away after 12 months, because you're just going to keep paying. Long-term storage kicks in at 6 months. So I don't want to be that aggressive. and get rid of everything at 6 months. But once 6 months hits, you are paying close to double per item to have it stored at Amazon's warehouse, which used to not be a thing. It used to be 12 months until long-term storage. So the market has changed a lot, right? So when you hear people that used to sell books and they're telling you the crazy stories back when they sold books, it has changed completely since then. Ever since, 2023, 2024, yeah, the whole book business model has changed significantly with how we're sourcing, how we're pricing. So I tell everybody, make sure you're aggressive with the repricing because we need our items to sell to avoid paying the hefty removal fees on the back end. So that's how you actually get to your settings when it comes to that. Let's get back to the fee calculator here. It does give a little bit of examples here, right? Like how much you're going to pay per unit, but you can just do the basic math and figure that out here. So we know the DVDs and CDs, we're paying $1 for it to remove at the end of the rainbow. If worse comes to worse, we spend $1. We paid 25 cents to store it. We paid 75 cents to ship it. That puts us at $2. We pay another $1 to have it removed. We're looking at that item could cost us $3 potentially in negative profit to our bottom line. And that's just the reality of Amazon. Not every single thing is going to sell. But another thing I wanted to show you is if you aren't actually selling your items, they actually charge you more. So this is your dashboard. These are all the favorites I have on my Amazon seller account, quick access. But if you don't have that set up already, you can just go into your, what's it at? Inventory, dashboard. And you're going to scroll down here and it's going to show you some stuff you're really not worried about. IPI used to be something that mattered, but it does not. I want you to focus on what we got going on down here, right? So we have your estimated surcharge, right? These are basically your long-term storage fees every single month. So I'm paying an additional $76.37 on top of your normal storage fees to store my, what do we got here? Roughly close to 5,000 items. So anything over 6 months, we're paying more. So we can see here that 67% of my inventory is not long-term storage. This is okay, right? I don't want this to be below 50%. If it's below 50%, that just means you haven't been sending in enough new inventory to kind of counterbalance this at the end of the day. So 67% is a good spot to be in when it comes to how old all your inventory is. You don't want to see a lot down here. You shouldn't see a lot because we just showed you, you got it set up so that the items are removed after 12 months automatically. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. It's not like it's instant, right? It hits 12 months and somebody runs and grabs your stuff. Sometimes it takes a month or two for them to actually go find your item to get rid of it. So this indicates that they're actually removing our items. But the bigger question, problem, solution that I want to kind of cover here is we scroll down. The wonderful storage utilization ratio. This also used to not be a thing. So in March, I was on the cusp of being at the 28 to 36 weeks. So in addition to your storage fees, your long-term storage fees, they now also charge you a utilization ratio fee, which never used to be a thing. So how do they calculate this? It's based off of your sell-through. How many items do you have versus how much you're selling? In media, a lot of people usually fall into, the 28 to 44 week category. I changed mine. I changed my repricing strategy. So after 6 months, I want to be the lowest price regardless of the buy box, as long as it's an FBA offer. And it decreased my storage utilization ratio from an extra, we'll say basically I fell into this one, right? So I was paying an extra 76 cents per cubic foot the old way because my items that sat there for long were just not being repriced where they needed to be repriced. A lot of items tank on Amazon. So I was paying an extra 76 cents and I'm using 81 cubic feet. So we did the math on that real quick. Pull up the calculator. We got 81 times 76, and this is every single month. So I was paying an extra $62 every single month, right? So I'm paying $76, right? I'm paying $62. Then I have my normal storage bill. So I was roughly paying around the time, basically $175, $200 a month just for my items to be there. Now that I've gotten my ratio down, so I'm selling my items. If we will go back and look on my sales here, right? I changed the minimum on my disc media to 649. So yeah, 649. You don't make a lot on the CD, right? But we still make something. So we make some money. Let's get to back to the revenue calculator. We actually make money, but we also avoid paying more fees. That is the name of the game here, is to basically get our money back out and avoid paying Amazon's stupid fees as much as we possibly can. So we sold this at 649, right? You still made a buck. So you sell your CD or DVD at 649, you still make $1. So even if your buy cost was $1, right? At least you got your money back out. You avoid paying these fees that they have in place. So I kind of avoided that. So we went all the way from 28 weeks down to no charge. So there's no extra charge. So I went from paying an extra $65 a month to zero. This compounds heavily. I personally know people that fall into this category and they do a lot of long tail books. I mean, if we just look at what we got here, right? It's $1.88 per cubic foot. We got 81 just on my small inventory of 5,000 units. I'm paying an extra $152 every single month on top of the long-term storage. So these kind of coincide with each other because you're going to pay more on long-term storage, which means your ratio sucks, which means you're going to pay more per cubic foot. So the idea of understanding the profit also helps us navigate the fees so that we can put more money into our bank account and avoid giving all of our money to Amazon. It all works together at the end of the day. The higher the average sales price, the more money you make. The lower we sell an item for, that's okay because we avoid paying all of the fees that kind of are on the back end that really nobody talks about. And yeah, I mean, that kind of covers it. Tony, you got any questions before we wrap this up today about anything? I'm an open book. All right. Well, I appreciate y'all watching the replays, hanging out with me every other Saturday. As always, if you ever have any questions, you all know where to find me. You can drop a message in the Facebook group. I'm in there scouring that as well for any questions or concerns. I can't say this enough. Take a little bit of a deeper dive into your numbers and kind of understand it. You got something for me, Tony?
No, sir. I just first time I'm watching you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Uh,
Give me a second. My headset turned off on me. What did you say?
can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir.
This is my first time watching, so I'm totally new, and everything you said was great for me. Uh, I'm just starting out and selling books, and I haven't sold anything yet. So what you're telling me is fantastic.
As a brand new seller, the biggest piece of advice I can give you is focus on faster moving inventory. So it might not be the most exciting profit, but if you're sending in the faster moving inventory and not being buy box eligible, you will still get sales, which will kind of keep you motivated to continue growing the business. Focus on the sell through, but sure, if there's a slower moving item that is a lot of profit, I still want you to buy it, but I just want you to steer clear of a good rule of thumb I give to anybody. Are you using Scout IQ or Scoutly?
Scoutly.
Okay. So anything with a sales score under 12, you being a
Mm,
brand new seller, I don't want you to send that in unless the profit is like $15 plus.
okay.
So a
Let me-
12 sales score means it sells twice a month. So it sells only once every 2 weeks and not being buy box eligible as a new seller. I want you to steer clear of those. And then once you get the buy box, you can focus a little bit more on that. But in this beginning stage, I want you to send in the faster moving inventory. Even if the profit isn't great, I still want you to make $5 on a fast moving book that you send in, and that'll kind of get your business cash flowing and you'll be able to grow it in a way that kind of makes sense.
Okay. All right.
Uh,
Did you say I can reach you on Facebook?
Yeah, you can put something in the group. I also got a YouTube channel. It's the same exact name you see here, the Used Book Guy.
Okay.
And I respond to anything. You can tag me on Facebook. You can comment on one of the YouTube videos. I'll respond to every single one. So if you run into any headaches or ever have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to reach out to me and I'll give you a straight answer.
I appreciate it, Mike. That's my
No
first
problem.
testing video.
Hey, no problem. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Enjoy your weekend. And yeah, keep at it. It's going to take a little bit of time to grow your business, Tony, but the
Yeah.
reward is well worth it. Just keep your head down and just be consistent and you'll get results.